mama it, you know. You're here.
Well, hi everybody. It's Wednesday, it's noon, and so it's time for our weekly busy webinar. My name is Trigby. I'm the Director of Buzz Development here at BusyWeb. Thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful Wednesday afternoon up here in Champlin, and with me as always is my faithful coworker, Jenna.
Hello.
How are you, Jenna?
I'm doing good.
Super. Jenna, I did want to tell you something personal.
Okay. I'm a little scared, but go ahead.
You look great today.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anything you want to say to me?
Yeah, you know what? You have a great personality, Trigby, that really shines through in everything that you do.
Well, thanks, but is there anything else you want to say to me?
How are you doing today, Trigby?
Well, thank you, but I really was trying to get you to say that I look great too, because that's what we're going to be talking about today. How to look great in the inbox. It's we're going to talk, and because it's you and me, we get to talk about the Schadenfreude of it all. We're going to go over the 7 don'ts of email design today. So if you're out there in Google Plus land, thanks for joining us. I'm going to quickly change. Here's my picture. Here's my contact information. I am going to be going relatively fast today. So if you want to get the my notes for this presentation, or if you'd like to get the slide deck after the fact, there's 2 ways to do it. Number one, this is going to be posted immediately to YouTube as soon as we're done here today. And so you can review it and hopefully laugh even more the second time around. But more importantly, if you want to email me, you can go ahead and do so. If you want to ask questions live, I'm going to change screens here and show you. On the right-hand side of your screen, you should see a blue bar that says questions and answers. And I'm just going to verify. Jenna, can you see the blue bar?
I do.
There it is.
Let me see, actually, sorry. My computer just crashed at the exact second that you asked me to look that up.
Super.
So let me just refresh the browser. You know what? Actually, Trigby, I see the questions, but I don't see the blue bar.
Okay, but we got our questions up. Okay, perfectly. So just to make sure that that's working, there are a bunch of you on screen here. Let's really make this interesting. You've seen a picture of me. Let's show you a picture of what Jenna looks like. And in the left-hand side of the screen there, right-hand side of the screen, why don't you tell us which one you prefer? This will help because this will help us make sure that we've got this technically working correctly. And if you just want to let us know, you don't really have to tell us if you like Jenna more than me, because that's probably what you're all thinking. And it's going to hurt my feelings, and we have a long way to go together. But how about you just type something in there, let us know that you're out there, let us know where you are in the world so that we know that the question functionality is working.
I would pick you, Trigby.
Oh, well, see, thank you. I'd pick me too. So my mom would pick me too. But
yeah, that's what moms are for.
My mom would always say that I look great. So anybody out there want to just let us know where you're at? That'd be perfect. Love the glasses. Jenna rocks, says Amy Austin.
No, Amy, you rock.
Yeah, no, Amy, you rock. And thanks, Dolores, for letting us know. And Shelby Sorty, thanks for letting us know as well. So if you have any questions, what's going to happen is I'm going to be talking back and forth, and then Jenna will interrupt me once she sees the question pop up, and I'll stop and I'll answer it for you, for those of you who are here in real time. So, but before we keep going, does anybody want to say how great I am? Anybody?
Crickets. I'm sure they're just overwhelmed by your beauty that they can't even type.
All right. Well, if we have to go with that, we'll go with that. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, if you are new to the Busy webinar, we wanted to tell you a little bit about us. We are a full-service digital marketing agency. We're based in the northwest corner of the Twin Cities, and we are a full-service agency. So we can do everything from building you a new brand, creating a website that has your audience take specific actions, which can lead to growing your audience, bigger promotions, bigger and bigger and bigger sales. So here are a couple of examples of what we do that we've particularly been proud of in the last few months. Today, this is sponsored by Constant Contact. So one of the reasons why we like this program, and you'll hear me say it a couple of times, is it gives you, Constant Contact is a great deal for small business marketers. It gives you the opportunity to get a lot of tools and a lot of really good functionality in one place at a pretty reduced price. By and large, it'll cost you about $40 a month. It's a wonderful program, and you'll hear me come back to it. If you're interested in learning more, the best place to do is to reach out to us after the fact, and we'll be more than happy to help you out. But you can do newsletters, you can do offers, you can get feedback, you can even do events. For those of you who signed up for the event today, you've even seen the Constant Contact event promotion. And it's all in one place, and it's all very reasonable. So let's talk about first impressions. By and large, we are all visual animals. We engorge on a visual stimulation before we make any sort of cognitive decision making. And the same holds true for email. When somebody sees your email, what they see is going to determine what they do next. So chances are you might want them to read something and take a next step, or maybe you want them to visit your website or register for an email event or donate or just even try a new product. This is where having a beautiful professional looking email designed to drive action is crucial. I'll say that last part again, designed to drive action. People make snap judgments about whether or not to read your emails based on a quick glance. Statistically, we choose to read an email message based on 2 seconds. If it's worth our time, if it is, we keep reading. If not, we send it to the trash folder. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. How do you, we'll take you through the reasons email subscribers delete emails and how you can design an email that actually works. So here's the difference between me and Jenna. So on the left-hand side, this was a pretty fancy email back in the dark ages of the internet, a time in my life I like to call college. Thank God, it's a tough room today. Everybody likes Jenna better than me, but that's not really strange. So this is on the left. It's what in the 90s what a really fancy email would look like. It's got text in it, and it's sent to the individual person, and that's really about it. But on the right-hand side, in a time of Jenna's life that she'd like to call college, which I think was about 10 minutes ago, you can see that there's one very clear call to action. This particular organization wants you to reserve your booth. It's branded correctly. It doesn't take you a lot of time to read. It's visually appealing. That's what we want to get to. An email service provider like Constant Contact will be able to do that for you. You don't necessarily have to use Constant Contact, but because we like them, that's what we're talking about today. Jenna, let me ask you a question. What do you think the most number one used app on a smartphone is?
Well, we're talking about email, so I'm guessing it's going to be the email app, Gmail or the mail one.
Well, it's actually Pokemon Go if you're going to use my phone, but if for everyone else, it's actually email. Mobile devices have become increasingly more crucial in digital marketing events and digital marketing world, and that's because more than half of all emails are open on a mobile device. And in fact, most people even read them 6 to 8 times on a mobile device. So what does that mean when the email doesn't look very good? It means that 80% of people will just immediately delete it. If you have to scrunch it down, if you have to figure out the font choices, if you have to try and figure out what the message is, after 2 seconds, people are just going to be gone. And even worse, 30% of people will just unsubscribe if that doesn't even look good. So the easiest rule of thumb as we're talking about mobile, and before you send out any email campaign, easiest thing to do is just to send a preview to yourself so you know if it looks good on a mobile device. So today we're going to discuss the 7 don'ts of email, because it's Jenna and I, we like to have fun with the silly things that people do, and we'll provide you with guidance on how to avoid them. So here's what the 7 don'ts are. Number 1, do not forget your branding by any stretch. Number 2, don't use hard to read fonts. Number 3, don't use the wrong colors. Number 4, don't be disorganized. Number 5, don't forget images. Number 6, don't forget to make it shareable. And lastly, make sure that you don't ignore mobile. So before we get into this, talking about branding. I'll say, Jenna, do we have any questions that I need to answer before we move forward?
No questions yet. Just some people letting us know that were able to get onto the webinar and that it looks like it's working, which is always a good sign.
That's always a plus. You never quite know with Jenna and I. It's either, who knows what's going to happen. So here's a couple of different emails. It's for the same kind of thing. It's a yoga studio, and I'm going to come back to this a lot. If you own a yoga studio, your newsletter has to be visually related to your overall brand, and that includes your logo. So that way your users know exactly that the information is coming directly from you, somebody who they know and somebody they trust. So the yoga studio on the left, it uses a logo, but it's tiny and it doesn't really stand out right away. And they don't really have branding colors that complement their logo. It's kind of dark and kind of dreary. But on the right-hand side is what a makeover looked like. It's large, it's in the center of the email template. You can easily see the branding right away when opening the email. The colors and even the colors are complementary.
I spoke too soon on the everything is working.
No, we're fine. So, all right. So too many clicks. I tried to get too excited. So just like you, the people who read your emails are very, very busy. So how do you win the battle of priorities and get more people to stop and open your email, or even a Facebook post, or even pin you on Pinterest? So what I encourage you to do is think about, how do you prioritize your own email or even your Facebook feed? You pay close attention to who the message is from. So first and foremost, who an email or a social media post comes from turns out to be the most important part of winning the battle of priorities. So it's crucial for you to be recognizable. You need to exercise care and consider how you're identifying yourself across the channels you're using. Just be sure that you're consistent with the name you use, your logo, your color, and images when sending email and posting to social media. And ensure that you'll be recognized visually by using all those things, so that ultimately your readers know and have an instinctual understanding of who you are. And you want those followers to stop and open your email and read your posts because they know that they're going to get something of value from you. So when we talked about colors and branding colors, you want in an email, you want to make sure that you're consistently using your logo colors that you use in the rest of your marketing so that you're immediately recognizable. Next, if you can, you want to use great images of your businesses, your products, and your people so that your audience can easily connect with your organization and what you do and who you are. We'll talk about this more in a little bit. I've been watching the Great British Baking Show, so when I was doing this last night, I did a lot of meringue stuff. But this is a company called Baked by Melissa. They do a great job of being consistent across all of their different platforms. And really, because they're showing baked goods, you look at something like that and you think, man, I bet that looks good. I look at that and think, oh my goodness, I don't have any idea how I could make my meringues look that good. But maybe that's just me. And finally, you want to make sure that you use consistent language. If you have a particular idiosyncratic issue in where you live and what you're talking about, you want to make sure that you use that. So if you're in the upper Midwest and somebody wants a soda, they're going to ask for pop. However, if you're in Atlanta, they're going to ask for a Coke. Second, on our big sevens of don't reads, don't use hard to read fonts. This is especially crucial for me as I get older, and even more annoying for me as I get older. So, all right, so let's go back to our good and bad of the yoga studio. So a couple of different things that are going wrong on the what not to do side. Number one, they're using a lot of different fonts. Combining too many fonts makes an email look messy. You don't know where you need to look. You don't know where your eye is drawn to. So what we encourage you to do is pare it down to no more than 1 or 2 fonts at most, and only use the italicized or the bold style to add variety. Second, don't use fonts that are too small. Keep in mind that no matter how much effort you put into an email, it's going to be seen half the time on a 4-inch screen, a 4-inch screen. So we want to make sure that our font choices and our font sizes are big. So for the body of the email, make it at least 11 points and at least 22 points for the headlines. So take a look at how the fonts are used in the email on the left. There are a lot of different fonts, a lot of different sizes. It's kind of hard to read on a computer screen. If I look at that, I don't know what I'm supposed to do and where I'm supposed to go. But on the right, the font choices are bigger. I can clearly read it. It's clearly got that one call to action, which is to sign up today. One of the things that we do here at BusyWeb, which I think is a lot of fun and I don't have a great part of, but I think it's fascinating, is choosing the fonts that are relevant to try and influence thought and behavior. We have a creative department here that does a great job with it, and they always come up with something that's just truly brilliant. Font choices can support or distract from your message. And ultimately, the message that you're providing has to be the star. And so if it's cluttered up or not really legible or fuzzy because of your choice in font, your message is going to be lost on your audience. There are two different kinds of fonts, and I wanted to show those to you. Is a serif font or a sans serif font. And the easiest way to think about this is feet. If you look at the serif font on the left, you can see the A has little feet on the bottom. The sans serif font has no little feet. That's really the best difference between the two. When you're creating content online, the best font to use is generally a sans serif font. They're much easier to read. Some of the common ones that you can use are Arial. You can use Helvetica or even Verdana. They're pretty much universal, and they're pretty much can be seen and rendered across all platforms. Ultimately, you want to choose something that's easy to read and harmonious with the font you use for your brand. And when you choose a font for your brand, ultimately, if you work with a designer, they should provide you with a list of acceptable fonts and acceptable usages of that font. If not, you probably need to find a new designer. So again, here's the difference. The serif font is great on printed material. A couple of ones that you probably know, Georgia, Times New Roman, those are pretty much the Microsoft Words ones. But then online, you want to go to the sans serif font. So I wanted to mix it up here and show another really just colossally awesome newsletter. And this is, again, on the left. It's, oh God, is it painful. I feel like I'm having Willy Wonka made this email. So, but let's break it down. There's poor contrast between the fonts and the background colors. There's text over an image, basically rendering both the image and the text illegible. There's too much body. There's poorly sized, positioned images. Like you can see, the little girl is huge, but the woman with the headset and the world globe is really tiny. It's just horrible. And even they're using, what, 7 exclamation points? Even more than that. That's 8. That's 12 exclamation points. Call or email us now. So just as a side note, I will tell you, unless you are starring on a soap opera on Telemundo, you should never use more than 1 exclamation point in anything that you do. More than that, and you will most likely get thought of as spam and be sent and not get a whole lot of success out of your program. On the right, however, wow, that's a lot calmer. That's a lot prettier. The logo is big. The blue is a nice calming blue. There's a gorgeous picture of a cityscape at night. And the implication is, wow, what, I am sitting in my office on a Wednesday afternoon and I am stressed, and wouldn't that be nice to be there? What do I need to do? I need to book now. Let's get into colors now. This is something that, again, our creative department does really well. And we'll go back to the yoga studio to do this. So when you want your email to look professional and inviting, you have to really master the art of color. A lot of really big color mistakes are choosing colors that are really bright or really fluorescent, or using a lot of different colors. And then I have a really great illustrative example of how poorly to use light text on a dark background. The best readable combination is dark text on a light background. So let's go back to our two yoga emails. On the left, it's got a lot of colors. It's not branded. It's not particularly complimentary. It's dark. It's angry. Clearly, by the photos that they're sharing, that the people who go to the studio are predominantly women. It's not inviting. It's not interesting. It's not comforting. On the right, however, the email does a much better job with color. It uses the color palette that's primarily based on the logo, and then the purple is complementary to the logo. And there's some white space so you can clearly read the text in the email. So color is really key for your visual content. As I said, we ingest visual things before we do anything else. And statistically speaking, and studies have shown that different colors create a different emotional response, and they do influence customer reactions. So for instance, 85% of shoppers say color is the primary reason why they buy a product. Color also increases brand recognition by 80%. Just by the color of that yellow, what am I showing you? Jenna, do you want to take a guess?
You're showing me Cheerios.
Exactly.
That took me a second, but I realized.
Exactly. And that's primarily because it could just be cereal, but what helped you out? Was it the yellow?
Yeah, it was definitely that specific shade of yellow, the really bright, almost vibrant honey. I guess that's what I would dub it.
Exactly. Well, and to confess, and thank you for noticing, this was a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios because we hit the bee analogy pretty hard here at VisiWeb. So it's not an accident that major social networks like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn have blue as their primary color, and that's primarily because about 40% of the people in the world say blue is their favorite color, and that's really worldwide. Favorite colors vary by gender, by age, by region, by culture. They affect moods or feelings, and all there can be some cultural variations. Some colors share universal perceptions, like red being a warm color and blue being a cool color. Impulse buying shoppers tend to respond to red, to black, to royal blue, while people on a budget, typically navy blue is what they prefer.
All right, Trigby, really quick before we move on, we have two questions.
Yes.
All right, question number one is from Jody Gordon. What if you have no photos in your email? Does that change the colors?
Okay. I think what you're asking, Jody, is you've sent out emails and you haven't included any photography in it. First of all, I'd encourage you to do so. And we're going to talk a little bit about where you can get some photos cheaply later. I think the second thing that you're asking to is on the color front is, can you change the colors in an email if it's presented through an email service provider like Constant Contact? The answer is yes. Thanks for the question. What's our next question?
Our next question is from Nancy Nagel. Hopefully I pronounced your last name right. Let me know if I didn't. Do you think the heading colors should be related to the logo colors?
I think they should be complementary to the logo colors because you want people to look at the logo first. You want them to understand who you are quickly and visually, and the header color should be the next thing that they look to. So again, think about that yoga studio. The purple is complementary to the green that's in the logo, and that's because that's the next place your eye is going to look because the text is so big. So I provided thanks for your question too, Nancy. The color guide, this is kind of a basic 101 on colors, what's best to use for your content. And this is something where I won't keep on a whole lot, but if you'd like, I'd be more than happy to share this after the fact. The best thing to do here is to think about your target audience and then use the colors that appeal to your audience. What's the action you want your audience to take? What social media networks are you targeting? And then choose the colors that are the right fit. So rule of thumb that I like to share, and one of the things that Jenna does, because I'm quite a bit older than she does, is typically she'll send me an email and say, can you read this? And then I will complain for about 90 seconds to 2.5 minutes about how much older do you think I am than you, seriously, and then I'll answer her question. Because, and these are some of the ones that we've that we found over the years of clients that did on their own before they started to work with us. So a couple of things to keep in mind here. Extremely bright color combinations don't matter, don't work. Using combinations of large, intense color isn't a good idea. So you might think it will catch somebody's attention. They're hard to look at. They're intense, and your message, just statistically speaking, will not be read, and your emails will most likely end up in the trash. Bright colors should be for small areas like call to action elements or a button. Second, don't use a textured background. These will distract from your content. And again, it sort of hurts the eye a little. And ultimately what will happen is your message ends up getting lost. So a background texture, if at all, should be subtle. It needs to be set back from the text and needs to be really secondary to any of your other content. So too much of anything isn't good, especially when it comes to colors. Too many colors makes the design super duper busy and really hard to look at. So best rule of thumb I can suggest is keep your main palette to no more than 3 colors. Okay, contrast between your text and the background is also important. Light text or objects on a light background tend to get lost, as will dark text on a dark background. So keep your message clear and defined by making it sure that it actually shows up. And then you should also avoid using color combinations like red and blue, red and gray, green and red, and or any other color combination that is really sort of hard to read. Focusing on those color combination is difficult for the human eye, and then the content appears to wiggle, causing eye strain, and then making the end user be indifferent or even move on from reading your email. Don't use black, blue, red, or any neon colors for background colors choices for the same reason. So that's a lot of no's. What's the yes? Well, use colors that are harmonious, they reflect your brand, and they're easy on the eye. Like this. When you use contrast, placing text against a color, your message should really be easy to read. A couple of places where you can actually learn a lot more about color or even the color in your everyday life. They're a really effective way to make emails easily identifiable as being from your organization. So these are two different tools that we use on a regular basis. The digital color meter, if you have a Mac, that's just automatically loaded for you. And then ColorCop is something that you can buy. You use the little eyedropper that you see there, and you drop it on whatever you're trying to get the color for, and you can match the color exactly.
I've got another question.
Sure.
Again, from Jody Gordon. She asks, what if the brand colors are dark? I think, sorry, this next part. I think it's, should you use a light background, or what if the background is light? It just says light background question mark. So I'm sure.
I'd really have to see, Jody, your specific brand to really give you a specific answer. But I think if I understand the question correctly, and Jenna, maybe you can help me out here. What she's asking is she's got a dark background logo or text in her logo. So you want to use something that works in contrast to that. So if the logo has dark text or is generally dark, use a lot of white space and use a lot of light colors in contrast for your background so that that text really pops. Thanks for your question too, Jody. Here are a couple more that we use here at BusyWeb. Color Schemer is fun. They all by and large do about the same thing. And I provided a couple because I like one, and our creative team uses something completely different. So
Yeah. Really quick, sorry.
Yep.
Just jumping in again. Jody provided a little bit more context.
Oh,
So
perfect.
Yes,
Thanks, Jody.
yeah, her brand colors are dark blue and dark green.
Okay. So then in that case, you definitely want to use a complementary and contrasting color to those dark colors, and that will help make your logo pop just a little bit more. Thanks for asking those questions. The key of what I was trying to get into there was, if you've got the dark green or a dark blue, you want to make sure that those are the colors that people are looking at first, and they're not trying to hunt for what exactly they're looking for. Okay, so we're back to our list of 7 don'ts. Let's go on to number 4. Don't be disorganized. This is the fun one. So again, let's go back to our yogurt emails. On the right, on the left, they know you don't know what information is the most important. Ultimately, on the left, what I gleaned was the most important was, we're offering a deal on your next class, and here's a coupon. But boy, I had trouble finding it, and I had to read a lot in order to get that. So by using a clear, large headline, for the newsletter's topic, this studio gets an organized message. It's mobile friendly, and the way I can tell is that it's just one column. So the smartphone readers are going to easily navigate this one on the right and easily be able to pick it up. So the email on the left, it's not really a good fit for the information in their newsletter. It's not mobile friendly because of the column on the right, which I think was supposed to be like a call to action. Really, if you're gonna be doing a mobile responsive email, it has to be one column. So the one on the right, it's one column, and it's very easy to understand, and it clearly has an understanding of what they want you to do. So what are the type of campaigns that you can do? These are some of the ones that we do here at BusyWeb, and really you can too. We do newsletters, we do announcements, promoting a product. We've done fundraisers, we've done special events, we've done holiday seasonal stuff, or even just a basic business letter. All of these are a type of campaign that you can really get into, but in order to do that, you need to choose a basic template. And when I say template, what that is it's a pre-made email that you can then customize to your own branding and your own needs. Templates make the process of creating and sending emails a whole lot easier, while also still allowing you to preserve the look and the feel of your brand. So here's a couple examples that I pulled of businesses and nonprofits using the right email templates for their message. So before I get into this, we've talked about a few design best practices. You might notice that some of these don't follow all the examples that I've talked about today. What I want you to focus on when you look at these emails is how they use templates that reflect the type of communication that they're sending to the audience. So this is a company called Spoiled Rotten Beads. They're a bead and they're a craft store. They sell their products online. They use product promotion email templates that allows them to show different items for sale and really what you can get by going to their store and working with them. Next, this is a nonprofit one called Gorilla Doctors. They send regular emails that include news and information about the organization. And also, one of their key goals is fundraising. They use a basic newsletter template to organize the information they want to share with people. And then here's another one. It's Fogged In Bookkeeping. This is a business letter template that reminds people that they need to get into tax prep. So it's not particularly visually appealing. Much of tax preparation is not particularly visually appealing. This is really the one I was talking about when I said that I just complained about fonts. Don't necessarily worry about that. The purpose here is that it's a utilitarian email. They're trying to convey a specific piece of information, and that's it.
Got another question,
Yeah.
from Nancy again. She asks, are all caps generally bad?
Thanks for your question, Nancy. Yes, all caps in writing your content is pretty much universally bad for a couple of different reasons. Number one, the tone in which people generally read all caps is the equivalent to yelling, and you're never really wanting to yell to your audience. Number two, caps is something that most email providers, like Google or Outlook look at as an indication of spam. So from a productivity standpoint, you just really don't want to provide it. The only caveat to something like that would be is if you have an organization that has a acronym that is like 4 letters in exchange for something else. I can't even really think of a good example right now. If you do have a business that's an acronym, you obviously want to make sure that the way in which you present the business name is consistent. NASA, perfect. Yeah, NASA. NASA is an acronym for the North American Space
Association.
Is it it can't be an association. Is NASA an association?
I'm gonna look it up.
All right, we're going to take a moment here while Jenna stops monitoring your questions and actually Googles what NASA stands for, because now it's a thing, Nancy.
The National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
Administration. See, I do. There's no way it could be an association. Wow. I don't even know if we answered Nancy's question, but I think so.
Yes. Avoid all caps.
Avoid all caps. Yes, perfect. All right, let's talk about images and don't forget to use images. When I talk about images, I'm not meaning just photography. Images can be graphics, can be videos, photos, word images, like an inspirational quote over a background or something like that. You want your images that reflect your brand to look good and be professional. Good news is you have a smartphone and you have a digital camera that's better than most digital cameras in your pocket. They shoot high quality photos, they shoot high quality video. So you don't really need a lot of technical know-how or extra money to create great images by yourself. Don't use low quality images that look like they've been staged. And this email on the left, this particular one was done with a lot of stock images. And the stock image is something where you basically purchase rights to use the specific photo. So there's 3 random women doing yoga. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they're doing. It's a little stretched out. And to make matters worse, it actually even has a watermark on it. You can see that sort of fuzzy stuff over the women. That's actually a protection from the company that sells stock photos to say, you can't use this until you pay for it. Once you pay for it, then you get a clean copy. The email on the right, it does has a great professional image. It does a great job because it's very simple. It only has the one image. It's actually in the classroom specifically, and it does a great job of visualizing the email's message about yoga classes. So images, by and large, receive a tremendous amount of engagement from your audience. 82% of people pay more attention to emails than they have images. If you need people to do one thing and one thing only, you should consider using a still photo rather than a video to keep people focused on the physical, measurable result you're trying to receive. But you shouldn't also over-rely on images to get your message across. A lot of email providers like Constant Contact have a default setting that don't show an image. I'm sorry, Constant Contact doesn't. Outlook, it has that default image where you have to click. You get an email that it's a bunch of red X's, and you have to click to show the images. You should label your images with text that explains what the image is in case it doesn't display. And take advantage of the pre-header text, and that's the first few lines of an email that come above everything else. That will appear if the images don't on a desktop. And in this particular instance, it does actually show. So a couple of things of caution, however. I mentioned earlier that you should limit your images. By and large, emails should have 3 or fewer images to get the best rate of click-through. So what kind of images should you use? Well, it depends on what you're trying to communicate. If you sell a product, you should show people what you want them to purchase by using a great photo of it. If you're a nonprofit, you could share photos of your last event or your last fundraiser. If you are a B2B company, you might want to highlight your employees in action with some good candid photos from your business. Again, keep in mind that not all email providers allow images by default. So don't use images of your content. So what I mean by that is don't use a PDF. If you use a PDF, your content is just completely not going to be shown at all.
Got another question, Trigby. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't realize you had the last bullet point.
No, it's
That's
fine.
Okay. It's from Nancy again. I asked about the all caps because a client gave me copy to layout and it had all caps headings in her copy. I want to honor her wishes.
Okay, well, that's a great point about the difference between servicing your client and not. What I would suggest, if you were a client of ours and you asked to do something like that, we would probably change it for you and then send a little note saying, hey, FYI, we did this thing differently because of X, Y, and Z reasons. And if the client comes back to you and says, no, I really want it that way, well, your job is to provide the client a service. Your job is not to necessarily be right. And if the client wants that to happen, then yeah, you do have a responsibility to happen. But before then, I absolutely would tell you that it'd be good for you to make that change.
Got another question here from Dolores Douglas. Please explain again how to get images to show up automatically.
You can't. Oh, I should talk more.
Yeah, you should probably expand on that a little bit.
To have, you can't. My point on email readers, and when I say an email reader, that's something like Gmail or something like Outlook. What those are really two of the major email providers of the world. By definition, they will not have an image show up. Your end user has to click a little button that says show images. So the way in which we suggest that you get around that is by having a title of an image that is actually interesting. So for instance, on screen right now, I've got a picture of two bikers riding through the mountains. Instead of naming that something like image1.jpg, how about a beautiful mountain bike ride? By having something that says beautiful mountain bike ride and then a little button that says click to show image, what you're doing is those people who don't necessarily see the image, you're enticing them to try and you're enticing them to have the image shown to them. So it's a good question, and I apologize that I didn't make it a little more clear. The goal of doing email marketing is to try and get your email shown in the best possible way across as many platforms as possible, but sometimes you just can't stop an email provider like Outlook from messing things up for you. So let's talk a little bit about video. By and large, statistically speaking, people like watching videos as opposed to reading a long web page full of text. However, you want to make sure that your video doesn't detract from the primary action that you're trying to do. Sometimes your call to action is actually the video itself. You want people to watch the video. Other times, if you want people to do something besides just watch the video, you have a link you want them to click in your email. You might not want to use video because in that case, it would distract readers from your call to action. So when you use video, make sure you mention it in your subject line so that readers know right away that they're going to get provided with a video. The reason for that, especially on a consumer level, is 50% of people are more likely to read an email if they know it's got a video in it. Make sure that your video is under 90 seconds at least, or even a minute. Because again, statistically speaking, at the 90-second mark, that's when people, over 60% of people just stop watching. So you do have the opportunity to have your video work for your business. A lot of great reasons that we've found to use it for our clients is our product demos, for testimonials, for even promotional things. So we talked about stock photography. We'll get into that a little right now. So if you don't have a photo that you like, chances are you can find one online. Google has this great and terrible feature called Google Images, where you type in a keyword and then you click the images button and it will show you hundreds and hundreds of images. You cannot use those. You have to have the rights to be able to use those. And in order to do that, you have to purchase that right to use it from the original author. So the easiest way to do that is to go to a stock photo site. And I've provided a couple here that are free, where you can just agree to share the image and they'll give it to you for free. However, if you don't want to do that, you don't want to spend money, the easiest thing to do, again, is to take your own picture. Then you know you've got rights to use it. When you work with photos, make sure that it's a good size. In an email, the kind of standard that we use for emails for our clients is 600 by 200 for a header image, and everything else we try and make at least 600 pixels wide. So that's kind of the rule of thumb for us here. So constant contact, again, one of the reasons that we love it is they've got stock photos right in your account, and you could even plug in your Facebook or Instagram account in order to get more photos.
Another question, Trigby, from Nancy again. This was when you were talking about adding descriptions to the photos. She asks, is that alt tags or captions for the images?
Those are neither. That's actually the title of the file. Alt tags are great and it helps with SEO. Captions, I don't necessarily recommend because they have a tendency to fly around the page depending upon whether or not you're looking at it on a mobile device or not. So good question, Nancy, and thanks for asking it. Again, when I'm talking about describing the picture, make the actual name of the file of the picture that description. We're coming around to the end. We want to make sure that we make it shareable. This is fairly easy to talk about. Again, here's our 2 yoga emails, and at the bottom of the page you see we've got on the one on the right we've got our social media icons. The reason we're doing that, again, we want to make sure that we both at the bottom and the top, we're asking people to share this information on their social networks. 78% of people will find more value in a share from somebody that they trust than something that they get cold called for. So the more of a butterfly effect we can create in our emails, the better. By and large, including a social share button like what we've got here on screen, increases your click-through rates by over 150%. Actually, out close to 160%. So you just, it's a share bar that, again, this is a constant contact example, so they have everything in there. What happens is if you click that F, then it will automatically load the end user's Facebook page, and they'll create a post and write the post for them, and then all that your end user has to do is click send. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you ask people to like, to share, to retweet, whatever. And you want to make sure that you add not only the share button, but also the social button as well, because if they you don't ask people to share, you can at least ask them to follow you on social media as well. So the social share tool, again, the thing that I talked about earlier, gives you the opportunity to set this up already. So if somebody clicks that share button, and this is one of the reasons why we did constant contact, you can actually create this ahead of time. So that automatic post, all that your end user has to do is click publish, and it automatically publishes on their page. And here's what it looks like in real time. Very nice, very easy, very clean. It takes a lot of the thinking out for your end users, and it gives them the opportunity to have that great little feeling of sharing something. We're going to talk about mobile at the end, and I really appreciate everybody asking all the questions that you've asked for. Again, here's our 2 yoga examples. On the left, wow, that small text just even gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it renders completely different. So the thing I want to encourage you to do is rethink the presentation of your content. Long form content, which is anything more than about 8 to 10 lines, doesn't really work for mobile readers. So when you're thinking about your content you're building, rethink it. Can it be condensed? Can a picture tell the story better? Can you turn one newsletter into a series by cutting that one article into pieces? If you have a long or a complex content or a complex asset you want to share, like a product guide or even new regulations for your clients or a research report or something like that, send an email with a clear call to action with a link that directs people to where that asset is. So you want to describe the asset and tell them where they can find it. That's the call to action you're wanting people to take. Again, here's a couple of funky chickens when it comes to mobile rendering. when you build emails, you're probably going to be doing it on your desktop. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind to keep your emails mobile friendly. Avoid having really long text because you can never know where it's going to break on a mobile device. And again, mobile device is sort of a catch-all term. Could be an iOS, it could be a 9-inch iPad, it could be a 13-inch iPad, it could be an iPhone 4, an iPhone 6, and then there's all sorts of PC tablets and phones as well. Making your fonts tinier, again, is just a terrible, terrible thing. And don't have multiple columns, because when you have the multiple columns, it immediately crunches everything and it makes it unappetizing to look at. Instead, what I encourage you to do is keep it very, very simple. Less text is more. Make it large fonts, make it only one column. It's clear what you want people to do. It's clear what you're offering. They can read it quickly while they're on the go. Couple more mistakes, which I think are kind of funny, especially since we're talking about yoga. Having off-screen images or an image that is sized incorrectly is something like what I've got on screen here. Half the picture is cut off because the photo is actually too big. And in doing so, then that simple and clear call to action that we've asked for, it's just gone. So how do you avoid that? Well, think about what your clear call to action is. Make it easy to read. Put it in the top section of your email so people are going to notice it first and then take that next step. Don't make people hunt for it. Don't make people zoom for it. Keep it easy. Make the images fit your email and use clear and obvious calls to action. If you don't know if something is a clear call to action, share it with somebody else and ask them the question, what am I asking you to do by reading this email? If they don't give you the answer you're looking for, chances are good you have to go back to the drawing board. So to use a bad joke of my generation as opposed to Jenna's generation, there's an app for checking on how your email looks. It's your email box. Build your email on a smartphone first, or even send it to yourself first, or send it to some people that you know and you can trust and see what it looks like. It's a simple and easy concept. I'm a big fan of the comedian Henny Youngman, who told the joke, and Jenna knows this because I say it all the time, right, Jenna?
Yep.
When man goes to the doctor and he says, "Doc, it hurts when I do this." When the doctor says,
"It's the mid-afternoon, Trigby. It's been like at least 5 hours since I had my cup of coffee."
The doctor says, "Don't do that. You're killing me, Smalls. You're seriously killing me today." Guy goes to the doctor and says, "Doc, it hurts when I do this." The doctor says, "Okay, don't do that."
Oh, yeah.
There we go.
That would make sense.
There we go. And again, if you're interested in helping Jenna out, please send caffeine to 11110 North Commerce Drive, Champlin, Minnesota. Easiest thing to do is to make sure it looks good for you first. If you don't like the way it looks, change it. So, all right, we're rounding third, and I promised I'd get you out of here in an hour. So let's make this quick when it comes to what exactly does a really good email look like. I've used this Half Moon stuff a lot, so here's what it looks. Here's why this is good. Preview pane is very simple. They can see it on a desktop or even on their mobile device. It's no more than about 2 inches, and it keeps the best practices that we talked about today. So second, the email template is good. It's very simple. It's one column. In this particular one, stick to a one column template that's not going to shrink or get cut off by a smartphone. The branding is consistent and visible right away. The logo is at the top center or the top left of the page. You're including your business name and a little bit of a description. Speaking of logos and images, you want to make sure that they're clickable. People always assume that images are linked to a website, so you want to make sure to take advantage of that behavior and link your images somewhere. Can't tell you how many times when I click and when I get something or I look at something online and I decide I want to buy that and I click on it and I get taken to a picture of what I just said I wanted to buy. Next, we want to make sure that we're selective with the content, 3 or fewer images, no more than about 20 lines of text will get us the highest click-through rate. And the call to action is above the scroll line. What's the scroll line? Well, it's that break at the bottom of your viewing screen that says, it kind of like the fold on a newspaper. We've got social media buttons on top and on the bottom, the share bar on top, and the follow us on the bottom. So that's our presentation today. Quick plug for us here at BusyWeb. We are offering a really good deal. It's our back to school deal. We like to call it our honey of a deal. If you'd like more information, you basically get $1,000 off a new design for a website, or $2,500 off a digital marketing plan. You can check that out at busyweb.com/honey. I talked a lot about constant contact today and a lot about email marketing today. We do have a place where you can sign up and get a free 60-day trial. It is a true, genuine 60-day trial. If you go to busyweb.com/cc, you're going to be able to play with Constant Contact, and I guarantee you it will not ask you for a credit card or any of those funky things where they ask you for a credit card and then say, well, if you don't reject it within 7 days, then we charge you. It doesn't do anything like that. It's a great place to start. And second, here's a couple of places where you can find help. We've got some good blog posts, some guides on our website, and then we do these events every Wednesday at noon, and then especially around the Twin Cities, we do events as well. So thanks for coming. I wanted to end with my email address again, so that you know how to get a hold of me if you'd like this information. Again, this is going to be put on our YouTube channel immediately after we're done here, and then obviously the real star of the show.
Aww.
Thanks, Jenna. Again, you look great today.
Thank you. You look fantastic as well, Trigby.
We really have to work on this because it took you an hour to come up with how great I look today, and I look great every day. But
I was blown away by your beauty. I couldn't even comment on it.
now, see, was that so hard? All I asked for is a little hyperbole in any given day.
I'll trinkle in some more.
So, all right, we're done here. So, Jenna, do you want to end like we always do? And say, before we do, we'll say thanks for everybody for joining, and we'll see you next Wednesday. And Jenna?
Bye.